When you think of a traditional JRPG, the first game series that probably comes to your mind is most likely Dragon Quest. It is a series that is very special to many people, most likely due to the fact that it's just had a lot of time to become that. Even if you know all of the mainline games and some of the major spin-off games, there is no way that you know about all of the Dragon Quest games that have come out throughout the years, which is where I come in. This is the beginning of a multi-part series where I will be going over every single Dragon Quest game. And we're starting off simple today. Mainline games. So sit back, relax, maybe grab some popcorn, because this might take a minute. Every series has to start somewhere, and with Dragon Quest, we go to May 27th, 1986, when the first Dragon Quest game was released in Japan. It, of course, follows a young hero who must go on a quest to defeat the Dragon Lord. Dragon Quest was really the first game to introduce the RPG format to a Japanese audience, as it had mostly been prominent in the West before this. Yuji Horii, the creator of Dragon Quest, was very successful in doing this, as not only is Dragon Quest one of the most successful franchises in Japan, but JRPGs are now very widespread and successful as a whole. The game would not be translated and released in the West for another 3 years, where it would be rebranded as Dragon Warrior, as it would be referred to for the next 6 installments of the series. Dragon Quest II would later be released on January 26, 1987, followed by Dragon Quest III in February of the next year. These 3 games would make up what is now known as the Erdrick Trilogy, 2 being the sequel and 3 being the prequel. They would get their North American counterparts years later, of course now rebranded to Dragon Warrior 2 and 3. All 3 of these games would get portable console remakes on Game Boy Color, with Dragon Quest 1 and 2 now being bundled into one game. In fact, these games got many remakes across many different platforms, so if you really want to, it's very easy to play these games. These games are now considered the staple for all RPGs today. Moving on from the Erdrick Trilogy, we have the Zenithian Trilogy. Unlike the Erdrick Trilogy, the games take place many years apart, only being connected because of, as the name suggests, Zenithia, which is basically a floating castle in the sky. The games in this trilogy are Dragon Quest IV, or Dragon Warrior 4, 5, and 6, as I'm sure you assumed. Dragon Warrior 4 was actually the only one of these games that was released in the West, at least without a remake. Similar to the Erdrick Trilogy games, all of these games got remakes on handheld consoles, this time all being on the DS. The most notable of these games is probably 5, which is undoubtedly one of the best Dragon Quest games, and for some people, the best one. I am not one of those people. I would probably say it's second to, well, we'll get to it. Regardless, pretty soon, Dragon Quest would be making some big moves. The year was 2000, and it seemed like every main game franchise had gone 3D. So, what about Dragon Quest? Well, on August 26th of that year, Dragon Quest VII was finally released. Wait, this isn't really 3D. I guess there's some 3D elements, but I don't know, man. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love 2D graphics and pixel art in games. In a lot of cases, I even prefer them to 3D. However, given the direction that a lot of other franchises had gone at the time, it's easy to see why fans at the time would be pretty disappointed. Looking back on the game now, though, it is very clearly well made. All the enemies have their own attack animations, the visuals are clear, it's just a nice looking 2D 3D game. In fact, all the DS remakes are done in this style, which is probably why they look so nice. This game eventually got a 3DS remake, and it wasn't just a little spruce up with a couple of quality of life features. This was basically a redo. Way shorter tutorial, new NPCs, easier access to important areas, name changes, dialogue changes, visible enemies, meaning no random encounters, visible party members during combat, gear changing to match that of which is equipped to said character, a locator to find fragments, which were previously hard to find without a guide, and oh yeah, the game is entirely 3D now. So yeah, the 3DS remake was truly a remaking of the game. Either way, it is very clear that 7 walked so 8 could run. Dragon Quest VIII, also the first in the series to be called Dragon Quest worldwide, sorry Dragon Warrior fans, was also the first mainline game to replace the world map with a fully explorable environment. This game also sold pretty well in North America, at least compared to the last one, though a lot of the sales might have been from a little bonus that comes with the game. Either way, in my opinion, this is the best Dragon Quest game, but more specifically, the 3DS remake. Not only do we have the same amazing story, characters, and voice acting, and the staple gameplay as with all the mainline games, but now there was also new party members, new costumes, no more random encounters, a fast forward mode, all the benefits that come with having 2 screens, and the fact that it's on 3DS, so you can take this amazing game with you anywhere. Oh, and there's a photo mode too. So there's that, I guess. If you take anything away from this video, it should be that you need to play this game. Get the 3DS version, the PS2 version, get it in an unconventional way. I don't care. Just play it. Anyway, moving on to the next one, 9. This is kind of random, but the nice thing about 9 is that the North American release came out exactly a year after the Japanese release, July 11th, 2010 and 9 respectively. Like Dragon Quest III, 9 is all about customizing your party members with classes, jobs, and things of the such. Rather than having a band of characters that all have at least something to do with the story, you recruit characters and the story mostly focuses around the main hero, who can also be customized to look more like you, a friend, or anyone really. This game is on DS and is the only mainline Dragon Quest game to not have gotten a remake, remaster, definitive edition, or anything of the sort. This game also sold really well in the West, which may be due in part to the huge amount of marketing effort Square put into selling this game. They even got a bunch of celebrities to take pictures with and play 9, which is kind of crazy to look back at today. Kind of like Square Enix's different approach to marketing this game, the next Dragon Quest game would be pretty different. You know, if I had a nickel for every time Square Enix had a numbered mainline game in one of their biggest franchises randomly be an MMO, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice. Jokes aside though, yes, Dragon Quest X is an MMORPG, and you've probably never heard of it or even had a vague memory of it because it is strictly a Japan exclusive game. They recently region locked the game, so you can technically play it here, though you would probably have to take a year or 2 to learn how to read Japanese since there is no English translation. From August 2nd, 2012 to today, the game has released many story updates, with one update even slated to release next year. There's also an offline-only release of 10 with a chibi art style, meant to just follow the events of the story and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get 10 in the West one day, but for now, we just have to wait. Finally, the game everybody knows, the most recent, new and improved Dragon Quest game, Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age. If you're watching this video, there's a very good chance that you've already played this game, and for good reason too. This game is just all around very good, taking the best attributes from all the games that came before it, while also being filled with references for longtime fans of the series. Now, maybe it's just because I haven't played the game in full, but this game is number 3 on my list of best Dragon Quest games. Of course, there may be some other things like nostalgia, and maybe even nostalgia that are affecting its placement on my list. Personal favorites aside though, this game is undoubtedly also one of the best games in the series. And if you've already played 8 or don't want to play it for some strange reason, this is a great first game as well, with the added bonus of being very accessible for those who have any newer generation console. Well, that's all the mainline games. What's next in the series? Well, you could say there's some monstrously mysterious things installed for the next video, or you could just look up a list of all the Dragon Quest media, but don't do that. That would ruin the surprise. Hey, it's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching and clicking on this video, getting this far even. Go ahead and leave a like, subscribe. It all helps me out, encourages me to make more of these, and I'll see you all next time.